An extremely important part of your case is what's called the mechanism of injury, meaning how did you get hurt? If it was a car accident case, how did the car accident happen? Was it a rear-end collision? Was it a side-to-side collision? Is liability or fault going to be an issue in the case? Depends on each case, and each case is case-specific on its facts. However, one thing that's very important in every case is property damage. The property damage to your case is a huge portion of our claim. Why? Because juries, we know, are extremely prejudiced against low property damage cases. In other words, if we go into court with a case where the facts show that the car only had $500 worth of damage, we know that it's much less likely, regardless of what the doctors say, and regardless of what the wage loss claim is, and regardless of what the medical bills are, and regardless of what the MRIs or x-rays show, we know that that case is extremely hard to get full value out of because jurors are prejudiced against cases where there's not much property damage. Even sometimes there's property damage of $3,000, $4,000, but a lot of that property damage is under the car where it's not readily visible. And what will happen is insurance companies will come into court and they'll have pictures that show your vehicle and they just don't look that bad. Why do they do that? Because they know that jurors are affected by it. So it's very important that we properly document the property damage of your case because that's going to be a very, very important aspect of the mechanism of injury. It's also important that we talk to any witnesses that were there that may have also been injured if it was a multi-car collision. Even though they would not necessarily be our client, they could be very, very important witnesses to your behalf if they also were injured. So it's very important that we document everything. Remember, there are several ways to present evidence in cases. We call it the rule of 4. And the rule of 4 is that there are 4 ways to present evidence in a personal injury case. The first way is through testimony. You get on the stand and you testify as to what happened, what the injuries are. We know that testimony is the least effective way of persuading a jury. Documentation. That's anything in writing. People believe more, way more, as much as 400,000 times more of what they read than what they hear. So it's very important that we document things. That's a much more impressive way to present a case to a jury than just mere testimony. Okay? What's better than testimony and documentation? Photographs. They're the old saying that a picture's worth 1,000 words. That is so true, and it's especially true in the courtroom. People believe photographs more than they believe testimony, more than they believe documentation. They believe photographs because they're actually looking at the evidence. And what's more important and more persuasive than photographs? Videotape. This is very, very important when it comes to pre-existing injuries and what your life was like before this collision that we're here about. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So with every aspect of your case, damages, mechanism of injury, future damages, loss of enjoyment of life, mental anguish, every aspect of your case, we need to ask ourselves and we need to work with you on what can we prove simply by testimony, as opposed to what we can prove through documentation, as opposed to what we can prove through photographs, as opposed to what we can prove through videotape as to every single aspect of your case. It's very important that you understand that this is the best way to present your case, and we want to present all aspects of your case through the most persuasive evidence possible.